This is going to be a short video that will introduce suspensions to you. This is the third non-chord tone in Chapter 11, the third of 4 non-chord tones that we will study. What a suspension looks like is held over, resolves down by step. It's a note that's held over, it was consonant, it becomes dissonant, and then it resolves to a chord tone. Held over, resolves downward by step. Held over, resolves down. It can be in any voice part, soprano, alto, tenor, or bass. And I'm showing it in 2 voices right now just to keep it simpler, and then we'll look at full music with suspensions and adding it to music. There are 4 common types of suspensions, and they resemble figured bass. They really are figured bass. They are describing intervals above the bass, the dissonant note. If this chord were perhaps B flat, D, F, and if this chord were FAC, the B flat would be dissonant with the F, and a 4th is considered a dissonant interval in tonal music. The B flat goes down to A, and with that F that's still sounding, it forms a 3rd. So it's dissonance and resolution. A suspension will always happen on a beat, and it will be at a chord change. So this is one chord. The chord changes, but the note in that first chord holds over and becomes dissonant with the chord change, as it would be to FAC. And then that resolves down to the note in the chord. So we would label this not just S for suspension, but what kind of suspension it is. And it is a 4-3 suspension. Once again, that's the interval from the bass to the dissonant note, from the bass to the consonant note. Let's look at this one, and if this were a D minor chord, or could be a B flat chord, I only have 2 voices here so you can't tell, and this is a C, E, G chord, then that D, which was consonant, now held over, becomes dissonant. From the E up to the D is a very dissonant note. It's a 7th. And from the E to the C is a 6th. So a 7th is dissonant and a 6th is consonant. So this is designated as a 7-6 suspension. As the 6 tells you, this is a chord in first inversion. A 7-6 suspension will always be over a chord that's in first inversion. So C, E, G, and the D is dissonant. So far so good? Hope so. In this one, we have the suspension, which is part of, no doubt, a C, E, G chord, since we have a C and a G. And this is an F, and an F probably is going to be an FAC chord. We might have a 5 to a 1. We don't have enough voices to really tell, but that's probably the general sound. From the F up to G is a 9th. It's an octave plus a second, so that's a 9th that moves to an octave, and we're going to call that one a 9-8 suspension. So far, the 4-3, the 7-6, and the 9-8 suspension could be in soprano or alto or tenor. There is the possibility of a bass suspension where the bass was consonant, FA, probably FAC, held over and part of a chord that contains a G, and here's the chord tone E. E, G is probably C, E, G. Could be a 1 to a 5-6 chord. So the G against the F is very dissonant, and that is represented as a 2nd. Here, literally, it's a 9th, but we use the lower numbers, the smaller numbers, just because it's easier to deal with. So if you think F here and G just above it, we would get a 2nd, and the E here to that same G, if it were placed down here, it would be a 3rd. Truly, it's an octave and a 3rd. It's like a 9th to a 10th, but big numbers are harder to deal with than smaller numbers in intervals, so we use the smaller number. Any bass suspension that we will study is designated as a 2-3 suspension. Just learn that. The suspension in the bass is a 2-3 suspension. Okay, to review, a suspension is held over into a different chord. It was consonant, now it's dissonant, and it resolves down by step. That suspension, the next video, will go into more detail about suspension.